yes. Am I right? In other matters.
I just wanted to add, in other matters, that
Yes.
is so, my lady.
And did you not get a response?
I couldn't get a response, my lady, because I was told that they cannot be exposed for purpose of the court case.
Did you? But I mean, you can ask the department at any level. There must be somebody in another department that can give you that information. Because they're here at court today, they would give it. Why would they not give it to you?
I don't maybe have the authority to just summon them to come to court, my lady, but I have approached them and I have asked assistance in the past.
But let us see what you used for this case. Remember, I asked you if you would indicate where you got the information from, and you said from the internet, and you referred me to a web page. Am I
That
right?
is correct, my lady.
Yesterday after court, you identified the web page. Is that correct?
That is correct, my lady.
Now, the web page that you identified, that deals with a speech made by the General Secretary of POPCRU, Abby Witbooi.
Can you identify the web page for me, please?
My lady, yes. It's www.csvr.org.za /wits
Pardon?
/ my lady,
Yes.
wits / again CONF conference PAPS CONF PAPS / Witbooi
Witbooi.
Witbooi Witbooi
Yes. Thank you.
.hdm. Now, that particular webpage deals with a speech by Mr. Abby Witbooi, who was at the time the General Secretary of POPCRU.
That is correct, my lady.
So, not a senior official in the Department of Correctional Services, but the General Secretary of the Union.
I take note, my lady.
You see, take note. Okay. And when was that? When did he make the speech? Do you know?
It was at a conference 7 to 8 February 2005, my lady.
2005, it's 9 years ago.
6 years ago, my lady.
It's
9 years ago.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Apologies. Thank you, my lady.
That's 9 years ago. A speech made by the General Secretary of POPCRU, and that is what you put in your report. So this webpage reference, have you used it before in other reports?
I have, my lady.
The stats you refer to the court deals with stats of, you say at page 38, the 237 operational prisons in South Africa currently provide accommodation to 114,559 prisoners.
Hold on, Mr. Nile, you're rushing. You are now with Exhibit WEEE,
Indeed, my lady.
page 38.
Indeed, my lady.
Okay. Yes.
And what stats are those? If you say currently, is it today? Or what are you trying to tell the court?
It was during the time of the completion of this report, my lady.
And you got that from where? So that's October 2014.
No, not my report. It was obtained from an extraction from this article, my lady.
Oh, for Judge Masipa, that was in 2008.
That's correct, my lady.
Okay, so the stats that you give this court is 2008 and 2005. Anything more recent than that?
Now, only the one by Judge Masipa, which was also in my report, my lady.
Chikisu, yeah, that's 2008.
That's correct, my
Okay.
lady.
But I mean, is there anything more recent than 2008 as far as statistics are concerned in your report?
No, my lady, except that the figures have increased, in fact, and but I did not quote the recent figures.
And conditions have improved, or don't you know?
Not as far as the latest report, my lady.
Not as far as numbers are concerned, conditions in prisons, or don't you know, since 2005?
Not as far as the report from the Judicial Inspectorate to 2011-2012, my lady.
We will deal with that. Can I just also ask you, the General Secretary of Pop Crew, you used his speech and you extracted the paragraphs at page 39.
That's correct, my lady.
The main concern of Mr. Witbooi at that conference was what? What did he address, in fact?
The key factors, my lady, were the crisis in the prison system.
Because of what? What was his main?
There were a few or various factors mentioned, my lady, which was incompetence, overcrowding, and the shortage of staff and understaff.
Yeah, he said his main concern, and the court will read it, ever read it, the unwillingness or inability of the department to appoint entry-level staff like a union person would do. That was his main concern. Have you read it again?
I'm just looking at the article, my lady. Some of the factors here mentioned as well was what I have said.
But that was in 2005.
That is correct, my
Now,
lady.
In all your years that you've been doing this kind of work, certainly you know the Act, Correctional Services Act.
No, my lady, I'm not a specialist on the field. I'm informed of the acts, but I don't know the acts.
But at least let's just see what you know. You know that a sentenced prisoner can, in writing, apply for a single cell.
My lady, I cannot comment on that. I do not know the act.
You see, what I find very interesting is that you would want to come to court and deal with conditions in the prisons, but you don't know how prisons are run and what the Act dictates. How can you do that?
My lady, I can give an opinion to the Honourable Court concerning experience that I've obtained, knowledge gained, and information obtained, but I cannot deal on an act which is not part of my framework.
You know, the Act, that's Section 31A, would say that a person can apply. Section 31C, in summary, indicates that upon admission, a medical officer or a doctor can also dictate that a person be kept in a single cell because of any medical condition or vulnerability.
I take note thereof, my lady.
There's also an assessment in terms of Section 38 of every prisoner that would arrive to ascertain the vulnerability of the prisoner and where best he could be placed. Do you know that?
I take note thereof, my lady.
And that there are regulations that would indicate that no medical devices may be removed from any prisoner without a directive from a doctor or a medical officer.
Take note thereof, my lady.
You see, I know that you're taking note, and I'm just worried that we come to court as probation officers in private business and complain about the conditions in prisons but don't know this. That's what's bothering me. Why don't you know this?
My lady, I'm not supposed to know the acts of each and every department. It is not within my framework or that I am supposed to know.
But certainly, madam, you shouldn't know anything about water affairs, I agree. But you should know everything about prisons because you commenting and giving opinions on prisons, and you don't.
I can give an opinion, my lady, on experience and what has happened to me and on what I read, but I cannot give an opinion on the act.
Okay, do you know anything about the White Paper on Correctional Services, 2005?
No, my lady.
So then you wouldn't know that there's a specific section in that White Paper dealing with prisoners with disabilities and how.
No, my lady.
You also don't know that the Department of Correctional Services has and follow a policy on disabilities. You don't know that they have a policy on it.
No, I take note, my lady.
You've not, in preparation for this, by telling the court that your opinion is that this accused cannot be incarcerated for certain reasons or imprisoned, you never asked the department if they have a policy, how they treat disabled people. You never thought of just asking.
I have consulted with them. That's in my report. I've already referred to that, my lady.
You've consulted with a person on a phone, that's all.
That is correct, my lady.
You don't know the person, you've not seen the person at all.
That is correct, my lady.
You've made one phone call, a person answered, the person identified themselves, and you had an interview.
That's correct, my lady.
Did you verify anything about that interview?
Yes, my lady, what I've got in my report.
No. Did you verify if the person was exactly in the position that she said she was?
No, my lady, as she did not want to be exposed for purpose of the court.
So what we have, we come to the High Court, and we say, I picked up a phone, I phoned the prisons, I spoke to somebody, and this is what the somebody said. That's all you can say.
That's correct, my lady.
You can't say that, you can't tell this court that that is what the position of that person within the correctional facility is. You can't.
No, my lady. Except that I phoned and asked to speak to the social work department, that the lady identified herself, but wished not to be exposed for purpose of the court.
I see. Then, the witness I intend to call will indicate to you that there is not even a slightest possibility that the accused's prosthesis will be taken away from him. There are people with wheelchairs in prison, do you know that?
I know that, my lady.
Their wheelchairs are not taken away. Or do you disagree?
I have not asked him, but not that I know of, my lady.
Do you agree that a person in a wheelchair is more vulnerable than a person on prosthetic legs?
I cannot dispute disability's vulnerability, my lady.
Now, if a sentenced prisoner or any person in a facility would have a complaint, what would he be able to do about complaints? Do you know?
No, my lady.
You see, I find that so irresponsible, man, that you would come to court, venture an opinion on the Department of Correctional Services, but don't know anything about that department. And you're employed by another state department.
I can only give what I could have obtained, my lady, but since we have an expert that's going to testify, those facts will be placed before the court.
You see, madam, we go to court as probation officers to courts daily. The preparation or lack of preparation, that is what's bothering me, and that's why I'm testing you. Why would you not go and find this out?
Lady, I cannot find out everything from a specific department, because what is important for one person on one aspect might not be for another person, and it may also vary from prison to prison, and it could differ from day to day. So I do not have the policies or the laws concerning the prison environment.
You know, madam, I read your report. You have a view of what happens in a prison. You testify as a professional but you've not verified it. And that is worrying. Why don't you verify it before you give evidence in a high court?
My lady, that would depend on what I need to verify, because that would also differ from court to court. I can speak from a lot of experience, and I can speak from a lot of what I have obtained through my years of experience, but I cannot know what would be required to test concerning a specific matter.
Let us make it much more practical and deal with, and I used to refer to it as hospital. I've been corrected this morning. It's health care facilities. Health facilities. That's the better word for this. That Pretoria Central has a health facility.
Yes, my lady.
That people could be kept in a health facility.
That is correct, sir, my
that
lady.
There are single cells at the health facility.
I've been informed of the single cells in the health facility,
that they
my
have
lady.
baths and showers.
I'm not aware of the baths, my lady. I'm aware of the showers.
You see, you go further. You say, there are no baths. That's what you did.
I did say that, my lady.
Why would you do that if I tell you that a mere inquiry would have indicated to you that there are baths?
I did inquire, my lady. If I was not informed thereof, I cannot assist the court on that.
Can I just ask you then, so the lady that you spoke to, that we don't know who she was, lied to you?
No, I never said she lied to me, my lady.
She failed to give you things, information.
Not all of the information or the proper information. That is correct, my lady.
On what did you base your factual statement, there are no baths?
On the visit to the prison where I saw no baths, my lady, and that was the only one that I could have access to.
Madam, the irresponsibility to put in a report. I visited a prison 2 years ago, only a single prison, Krugersdorp. Now I make a statement about prisons in this country by saying there are no baths. How can you do that? How do you do that?
I take note, my lady.
No, take note of what?
Of the fact that there is a bath in Pretoria Central in the medical
but I'm asking
facility.
You, how can you do that? How can you put in a report that it's a fact and you haven't verified it? That's what I want you to...
If I was not informed thereof, my lady, I cannot put it in for the Honourable Court.
Why would you not say, I don't know if they have baths there? Why do you put it as a fact?
Because I was informed, my lady, that they do not have facilities for...
Who told you that?
The specific social worker that I spoke to could not assist me.
You're still under oath, ma'am.
Thank you, my lady.
Thank you very much.
May it please the court. Madam, can we just go to page 34,
Just
please?
Before you start, I just want to find out, is the machine now in order? Okay, so there was nothing lost. Okay, thank you very much.
Everything was recovered with the backup machine.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, you may proceed.
Page 34, please. At the bottom, you see point number 8 that you're dealing with. You say that psychological treatment in prison will be negative, as the accused needs to be treated with due regard to his extreme emotional state and vulnerability because of his disability. Then you say, correctional services do not have the treatment facilities available for a person such as the accused. And the probable result will be to break the accused even further. What are you saying there?
Concerning the current circumstances, my lady, that the accused will again have to make use of other facilities available or applicable due to his current status.
Now, if you talk
or
about
versus the current status.
now, what facilities are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about the psychological and psychiatric treatment facilities available, which is applicable to the accused person.
Okay, but we sorted that out with the fact that he could have access to his own. It's a possibility.
As a possibility, my lady.
You say that he's a broken person. He's a broken person because of what he did. Am I right?
It is the totality thereof, my lady. I cannot dispute that the circumstances which has all contributed to the fact that the accused is in fact a broken person.
And we have to weigh that up against a broken family who will never get a loved one back.
Not at all, my lady, and that's also placed before the also not placed before the court in such a manner. It's just that we are speaking about the accused person here.
And then we go on the next paragraph, paragraph 9, where you deal with the offender's sentence begins the day that he is sentenced, not the day that he is sentenced by court.
That is in terms not of the legal aspects, my lady, but in terms of the manner in which people feel and what they go through.
But it's because of what they did.
That is not disputed, my lady, but it can still not be denied.
But they're not victims.
We never said they are victims, my lady, but they still have emotions.
They have emotions, but they're not victims. We have different victims. This accused is not a victim of what happened.
We never said that, my lady, but he does not become a stone or a person without emotions, or a person that will not be sentenced, or a person that will not have to go through all of this. And all of this has to impact and has impacted on the accused person.
And so it will impact on every accused person before court that have killed someone.
That is not disputed, but each and every person will automatically go through these stages in a different manner.
Now, the one aspect, I'm going to put to you that if I read your report, you make sweeping statements about conditions in prison, and although you say you don't do it, you're against sending this accused to prison on your sweeping statements about facilities. Am I right?
My lady, again, with the greatest of respect, I'm not sending the accused to prison. I have no option in that, and I'm not responsible for that. I can only make or provide an opinion to the Honourable Court to say there are alternatives available and why they can also be a suitable sentence option. In this particular manner, I cannot dispute that I said that a sentence such as a community-based sentence would serve also as a deterrence. It would deter, we are talking about the accused person, other people could, or that do not view correctional supervision as a light manner, can see it as a deterrence. There are so many factors to be addressed through other sentence options that direct imprisonment is not the only option available to the Honourable Court.
Madam, and talking about sweeping statements, almost done, but 38 is a clear indication. At page 38, you say containers of condoms are freely available in the and the realities of AIDS are no longer denied. Why is that a negative factor that there are condoms available?
With all due respect, my lady, why is it a positive factor? It's a male prison.
Are you discriminating against consensual homosexual sex?
Not at all, my lady.
Why are you then against condoms in prison?
It's not that we are against it, my lady. It is just the exposure that people who go into the prison environment will be exposed to, with or without their choices.
No, madam, I don't understand that. And this is just a clear indicating of your bias against prisons, is that you would mention that in a report, that there are condoms available. Why is that negative?
If that's a reality, my lady, I can't see why I can't mention it.
But why would you mention it if there's condoms available in every store in the country? Is that a problem?
We're not talking about a store
I'm
here, my
talking
lady.
about stores. Is it a problem if there are condoms available in stores?
There is not a problem if there are condoms available, my lady, but where we are talking about a facility where people should be able to enforce choices, it would be a different scenario.
No, I don't understand that. So let's see, if there are condoms available in government buildings, is that a problem to you? In toilets in government buildings, is that a problem to you?
No, my lady.
Why
as
is
we
it a problem?
have-
Yeah. Why is the problem for you in prison? And how do you bring that to choices?
As it could limit people's choices, my lady, but if it is a positive, at least we have mentioned it.
No, that's not that easy. I'm talking about your bias against prisons. And that particular paragraph, when I read it, bothered me. Why is that a negative?
It is a fact, my lady, so it was mentioned as a fact, not per se as a biased option.
What about other facts that there are water in prisons or there are gardens in prisons? Why would you mention condoms? And why did you link that to choices?
As it is something, my lady, where people are being sent, whether they have choices or no choices, they are being sentenced to a facility where they will be restricted for a specific period of time. And irrespective of your choice, whether you choose to go along with a certain or a specific group, whereby condoms could or should or would be used, it is also affects other people.
No, I don't understand that. I don't. Except I hear lots of bias in what you're saying. But apart from that, about other groups, I don't understand it. Please explain that.
My lady, the condoms would not be applicable to everybody in the prison.
But the mere fact that it's there, why is that a problem for you? Why would you mention it?
It is not a problem, my lady. It is a fact. That's why I mentioned it.
No, you see, madam, the inference I'm drawing, and from your first answers, is that you link something else to condoms. What do you really link to condoms, and why did you mention it?
I do not understand the question, my
You
lady.
don't? Okay. So you don't have a problem with consensual homosexual sex and the use of condoms?
Not at all, my lady.
So that's in fact a positive thing that you mentioned about prisons in your report.
It is a fact, my lady, which is visibly available, and if it's used by everybody, I presume it's fine.
So you don't have a problem anymore that people are exposed to condoms, even though they don't have a choice to be in prison. That's not a problem anymore.
My lady, where people are enforced and locked up, I just feel that it does make circumstances more difficult for them, but it shouldn't be considered a problem.
What would be more difficult for them if they're locked up in terms of condoms?
My lady, I don't think we understand the circumstances. We will have a witness, obviously, to testify it or concerning the overcrowdedness in prisons. But I don't think people actually dispute or deny the fact that sexual intercourse is a daily occurrence within the prison. The problem is there are very little privacy, so people are exposed to that. If values and norms are no longer a problem, then I presume it shouldn't be looked at in a different way, and then we can perceive it in a positive manner. Other than that, I can't say anymore, my lady. If we have to see it, it is a fact, it is available. If we can look at it in a positive manner, then we can appreciate it in that fact.
You see, madam, in that answer, I picked up the bias. Values and norms of whom? Your values and norms.
No, not at all, my lady. When people are being exposed to that without a choice. I'm not being exposed to that, my lady. I've never been exposed to that.
Madam, I've put to you what I wanted to. There's only one other aspect. Madam, I'm putting to you that your report is not informed by any fact as far as the condition of prison is concerned that the court should rely on, that you are biased against any form of imprisonment. Do you want to? There's one other aspect, thank you. Madam, do you know, have you followed the Devani case?
No, my lady.
Not now, when it's in court. The whole process, remember?
No, my lady.
Okay, let me put to you. Mr. Devani left the country and found himself in England. Do you know that?
No, my lady, I honestly did not follow it.
No, then I'm going to put to you that in English court, the Department of Correctional Services, and in the person of Mr. Smallberg is sitting next to me, filed affidavits and convinced the English courts that our prisons are, according to international standards, so much so that they agreed to the extradition of Mr. Devani. But you're saying our prisons are just terrible.
My lady, I can just say that the prisons are overpopulated at this point in time, and that was according to the latest report, 2011-2012, the annual report. I'm not an expert. I was informed that the expert will testify what I've seen, what I've been exposed to, and what the clients virtually expressed to us. We cannot say that it is a perfect world out there. So if other factors will be placed before the Honourable Court, it is in the hands of the Honourable Court.
And Madam, put to you lastly that you don't call it a recommendation, you call it an opinion that the court should consider a community-based sentence, and in the way described to you, it is shockingly inappropriate to even suggest that a community-based sentence in this matter is appropriate.
I take note thereof, my lady. I'm entitled to my opinion.
As a court, please. I have nothing further.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Roo?
Just maybe one question that I don't know if you can answer. Do you know if Mr. Devani was detained in jail here or in a different facility?
I honestly wouldn't know, my lady.
I have no further re-examination.
Mrs. Fairfield, just turn to page 19.
Yes, my lady.
Yes. Of Exhibit EEE. Point number 2, you say his detention ensured aversion. I'm not quite sure whether I understand this.
It was when he was detained just after the incident, before bail was granted, my lady.
Yes, what about that?
It was just a severe eye-opener to him. He was not detained in the prison. He was detained in the police cells, if I understood it correctly.
Yes, so what are you saying about that?
Sorry, my lady.
I understand what you're saying now, but what are you saying about that?
That it was really a shock and an eye-opener to him, my lady.
Yes. Where did you get that? Is that what he told you?
Yes, my lady.
That's what he said to you?
Yes, my lady.
Yes. Thank you. Is there any...
Nothing, thank you.
Any question arising?
I've nothing there.
Nothing. Thank you very much, Mrs. Verheer.
Thank you, my lady.
You may be excused.
Thank you, my lady.
Yes, Mr. Rowe?
My lady, on the understanding that Mr. Nell will call the person from Correctional Services, we'll await that. There are no further witnesses to be called, but what came to my attention that I believe it's relevant to the proceedings was a press statement issued on behalf of the parents. And why I believe it's relevant, because the payment issue was raised, and I think that the correct position should be put before the court in terms of the press statement and also from the legal perspective, what it was really all about.
Yes, this press statement came out when?
It's a press statement. It's issued by Advocate De Bruin, SC, and the attorney on behalf of the parents.
Yes.
I will just ask, I see Mr. De Bruin's court, I don't have copies. I believe copies, otherwise I will make copies available to the court as an exhibit, but I think it's important to read that into the record.
Yes, I'd rather we have copies before you start reading.
If the court would just bear with me.
Yes.
It would be exhibit FF, my lady.
Thank you. Mr. Nile, you've got the statement? You've got the press statement?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, my lady. I would then read it into the record, and I will also make short submissions from our perspective. It says, press statement on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Steenkamp, the parents. 1. Certain disclosures in court yesterday have made it necessary to issue the statement. 2. We have advised the parents to remain neutral in regard to sentence, in the sense that they should not be seen to attempt to influence the sentence in any way. 3. After Ms. Steenkamp, in brackets, the deceased, was killed on 13 February 2013, the parents were in financial difficulties. 3.1. This was mentioned to Mr. Pistorius' lawyers during discussions in regard to a possible civil claim by the parents. 3.2. We were contacted soon afterwards by Mr. Pistorius' lawyers with an offer that Mr. Pistorius would contribute an amount of 6,000 rand per month towards the parents' rental and living expenses. 3.3. Payment took place from March 2013 until September 2014. 3.4. When the offer was made during March 2013, we, on behalf of the parents, thought that it would only be fair to Mr. Pistorius that the public should know this. The request of Mr. Pistorius conveyed through his lawyers, however, was that the matter be kept confidential. We have honoured this request. 3.5, we were therefore quite surprised yesterday when this fact was disclosed in court without any prior warning to us. The fact that the matter had been kept confidential at the request of Mr. Pistorius' legal advisors has also not been placed on record. 3.6, the parents intend to repay this amount to Mr. Pistorius as soon as arrangements can be made in that regard. 3.7, it was always the intention of the parents that the amount of 6,000 would be set off against any claim that they were going to institute. However, once they had decided not to proceed with the civil claim, which decision was only taken during the past few weeks, it follows that the money will be repaid. That's on the first part. My lady, submissions will be made later that the money were paid over unconditionally, and it's still the instruction that he doesn't want it back. It's for the parents to decide, but there was no condition attached to it. 4, the settlement offer. In view of the pending civil action, we considered it appropriate to attempt some kind of settlement in that regard as soon as possible. 4.2, this was considered especially because the parents were emotionally suffering quite badly, and an early settlement was considered to be appropriate in order for them to get some closure on this specific issue as soon as possible and to avoid a lengthy civil case. 4.3, it was for this reason that we, that's not the legal advisors, representatives on behalf of the parents, approached Mr. Pistorius' legal advisors with a request as to whether the matter could not be settled. At that stage, the parents were not aware of our approaches, and discussions between the legal teams were confidential. 4.4, the offer of settlement was then made by Mr. Pistorius. 4.5, when the parents were made aware of this offer, they considered it carefully, but decided for various reasons that they did not want any payment from Mr. Pistorius. This is also why we were instructed to advise that no civil claim would be instituted. 4.6, we placed this on record to make it clear that the request for an offer emanated from our side and not from Mr. Pistorius' side. He was responding to our request as to whether the civil claim could not be settled. 4.7, we agreed with Mr. Pistorius' legal advisors that this issue could be raised by them, but then in a context that it had been rejected. My lady, the only part of what submissions will follow is that when we were told that they did not want the money, there was a further offer to say he sold his car in the last amount, proceeds that he had at the time. The proceeds for the car was $375,000. There was contact with the legal advisor to say, we understand that you don't want the money. We're going to pay it into your trust account. Please give us the trust account for the parents to consider, should they at the later stage reconsider. The trust account number was given, but subsequent to that, before the payment could be made, we were informed that they've made up their minds. They do not want the money, and for that reason only, the money was not paid over. That's the full history of the money.
Thank you.
And then no further witnesses will be called, and the argument will obviously follow after the state witnesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roux.
Yes,
Yes,
Mr. Court,
Mr.
my lady, I intend indeed to call witnesses. I do, however, need time just to consult with the witnesses again before I call them. I see it's 12 o'clock. And, my lady, I would need at least 45 minutes to go through evidence.
5 minutes.
Yeah. That makes it difficult because we run into lunchtime. So if I could perhaps ask people to be back at, say, I would have wanted to start at 1, my lady, if I could talk to court personnel, and then we could sit to 3 if I take the hour lunch now. But, my lady, I'm in the hands of the court. I would need time to consult with this witness.
Yes, how much time?
I would need an hour, my lady, to be...
1 hour?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said 4 witnesses. Did I hear you correctly? 4 witnesses?
No, my lady, at most 3, my lady.
3.
My lady, as I'm standing here...
I'm not trying to influence your decision.
As I'm standing here, I'm
decision.
thinking 3 or 4, my lady, yes. Sorry, I've now... but they won't be long, my lady. I'm sure that we'll manage to finish it.
I'm not taking you at your word for that.
My lady, I can't guarantee it at all.
It's more like it.
Yes.
Let me just find out, would it suit everybody if we came back at 1 o'clock?
Can we make it 1:30, my lady? If people would want. My lady, I'm going to consult and get everything ready. If we make it 1:30.
Well, make up your mind. You need an hour.
I've made up my mind. Can I have 1:30, my lady?
Pardon?
Can I have 1:30?
You need 1.5 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We'll be back at 1:30.
As a good business. published.
What's the name of the witness again?
Kim Martin.
Kim Martin, Mr. Martin. What's the name of the witness again?
Kim Martin.
Kim Martin, Mr. Martin. This is the order, or that's Miss. This is the order, or that's Miss. Miss. Thank you. Mrs. or Miss? Miss. Miss. No images of this witness may be published. No images of this witness may be published in any. The witness may be sworn in.
As a good
Ma'am, please
pleases.
state your full names for the record.
The witness may be sworn in.
Ma'am, please state your full names for the record.
Kim Michelle
You
Martin.
consider it prescribed any objection in taking on
I
prescribed?
do. I
You
don't.
swear that the evidence about you shall be binding on your conscience?
I do. I do.
You swear that the evidence about you shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
So help
truth?
me God.
If so, raise your right hand and say so help you God.
So help me God.
Witness is sworn in, my lady. Please put direct witness is sworn in, my lady. If you want to say witness is sworn in, my lady.
Thank you very much.
Adam, I know you're nervous. If you want to sit down, with leave of the court, you allowed to sit down. Nervous. If you want to sit down, with leave of the court, you're allowed to sit down. You're allowed to stand. Did you know the deceased in this matter?
Thank you. Yes, I did. The deceased Reeva Rebecca.
Did you know the
Steenkamp was
deceased
my
in this matter?
Cousin.
Yes,
I'm
I
the
did.
eldest
The
cousin.
deceased
Reeva Rebecca Steenkamp was my cousin.
I'm 12 years older
I'm
than
the
her.
eldest cousin. She was my first cousin. I'm 12 years older than her. She was my first cousin.
Explain the family relation. But, yeah, explain the family relation. Or mothers.
Okay. We're a small, very small family.
Fathers and- or
Our
mothers.
fathers are brothers. We're a small, very small family. Our fathers are brothers. Two brothers. There's two children. My sister and myself of my father, and my uncle has two children. My sister and myself of my father, and a son from a first marriage. And Auntie June has a daughter from a first marriage.
Good. So let us deal with the
has a daughter from a
deceased
first marriage.
family.
Let us
So
deal
it
with
was
the
son from
deceased
family. So it was
Barry's
son
first
from marriage. The son's name is
That's correct. It's
Barry's
Adam
first
Steenkamp.
marriage.
It's Uncle
The
Barry's
son's
son
name
from
is?
his first
That's
marriage.
correct.
It's
Adam
and he lives in the
Steenkamp.
UK. It's Uncle Barry's son from his first
And
marriage, and he lives
from
in the UK.
June Steenkamp's first marriage and
June Steenkamp has a
from
daughter, Simone
June
Coburn,
Steenkamp's first marriage.
that was living in the UK at the time of Reeva's death, but is now moved back to South Africa to live with her parents in PE. But is now moved
Now,
back to South Africa.
please
to live with
explain to
her
the
parents in
court.
PE.
Now, please explain
when
to the court.
Reeva was born, where were you staying? Where were
When
they
Reeva
staying?
was born.
Both
Where
our
were you
families,
staying? Where
my
were they
dad and
staying?
his brother, we're both staying, all staying in
both our
Cape Town.
families,
My dad and
we
his
all
brother,
lived in a
we're both staying, all staying in
suburb
Cape
of,
Town, Cape Town called Tableview.
We all lived in a
in very close
suburb of,
proximity of each other.
Cape Town called Tableview.
Uncle Barry had a
in very close
horse riding
proximity of each
stables,
other.
situated
Barry had
about a
a,
kilometre down the road.
horse riding
And we lived
stables,
situated about a
in
kilometre
the
suburban
down the
area.
road.
And
You
we
spent
lived
time together with the
in the
Barry
suburban area.
and June. You
We
spent time
spent
together
all our
with
time
the
together.
Barry and June.
Uncle Barry
we
had
spent all
the
our
horses, as I
time
said, and my
together.
sister and I both rode. Uncle Barry had, and we
the
were at
horses,
the
as I said, and my
farm.
sister and I
we
both
called
rode.
and we were at the farm. We called the farm, but the small holding, every single day after school. Sometimes before school, we'd go and ride the horses. Auntie June would fetch us. Every single weekend, from the minute we were finished school, straight down to the farm. Sundays, right through to Sunday. We were a very, very close family.
Strange way of putting it, but you met Reeva when she was just born, small baby.
Reeva was the first baby I'd ever held. I remember I was 12 years old at the time. And the first time I was ever asked by anybody if I'd like to hold, and I remember I was so nervous and I was scared that I would drop her. And Auntie June gave her to me, and I held her in my arms, and I remember she didn't even cry. And I still said, Auntie June said, "You see, Kimmy, you're a natural, she loves you." There was a very strong bond from a very young age.
And growing up, what kind of child was the deceased?
Reeva was a very fun-loving child. She grew up with a lot of old children around her, but she was always like the little Pied Piper, you know. He would follow her around. She had a very nurturing personality from a very young age, and she'd want to look after everybody, even the adults. There was always a lot of people around because being a horse riding stables, people would come over the weekends to ride their horses and during the week. So there was a lot of interaction with other people, a lot of socializing. And Reeva, from a young age, stood out. There was just something about her. She was like a little missy, you know.
There's an incident about a poodle that you told me about.
Auntie June and Uncle Barry both love animals. And they had a poodle called Jade that Auntie June had had for many, many years. And the last 6 months of its life, it became paralyzed. And Reeva took it upon herself to carry the poodle around to become its legs. So if you'll see photos of her carrying Jade wherever she went, because she became Jade's legs. Because the alternative was to put her down, and Reeva performed and said she's not going to put the dog down.
Now, what was the financial situation of Reeva's parents at the time?
Their financial situation was always strained. They have always battled financially. In the beginning, they made do, but it's a very, very difficult industry to be in. You're looking after people's animals, and in this industry, people tend not to pay you. And Uncle Barry would never turn anybody away, turn the horse away, and it became a family joke. You know, Uncle Barry would feed horses, so how can he turn people away? Turn horses away. So they battled financially. They really battled. For as long as I can remember, they've always battled.
But he worked hard.
Yeah, he was always a very hard worker. Always get up 4 o'clock every morning before the sun, get down to the stables. There's a lot of physical hard work, feeding lots of horses. You need to, very physical. When he was training, eventually then to get up and train before the sun comes out. Organizing a lot of physical work on the farm until long hours, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. He was a very, very physically hard-working man.
The family then moved to Port Elizabeth, am I right?
That's correct.
What was the circumstances there?
The reason why they moved from Cape Town was because Uncle Barry had moved. He'd first trained to become a horse racing trainer, and he'd got his certificate, qualified, and they'd moved from Cape Town to Port Elizabeth so that he could get into the racing world in Port Elizabeth. When you're starting out, it's a little bit easier to get into the racing world, and there was more opportunities for him then.
And financially, was it much better, or what was the situation then?
I think in the beginning for a little while it was, but unfortunately, once again, when you're dealing with animals, it's very, very difficult. And their financial situation slowly but surely started to deteriorate again.
And the mother? Auntie June, as you referred to her?
Auntie June also worked very hard. At first, she always did something on the sideline, you know, to earn extra money. Would be, she ran a little parlor for dogs at one stage when they were in Cape Town still. Then when she moved up to PE, she would do something on the side. And, but she always helped Uncle Barry. So she found a little empty building, and she started selling stuff to the, not just to the jockeys, but to the staff and the labourers that were working with the horses. Like a little spaza shop. She opened one of those for the stable boys to earn extra money on the sideline. That was her little business.
And apart from that business, as far as Auntie June is concerned, did she you told me something about a laundry.
She did that and earned some money and did very well, long hours. And then I think an opportunity, I'm not quite sure how it came about, was to open up a laundry. It was close by to where they were staying in Seabreeze in Port Elizabeth. And she opened the laundry. But it was very long hours, lots and lots of hard work, and it was basically just herself. And I think she had one employee, and she would work from morning early, washing, hanging up, drying. She did make money. She did very well because she worked so hard, but it was very, very hard work.
And the deceased in this matter went to school in Port Elizabeth.
That's correct. She went to an all-girls convent school.
And did you do well at school?
She did very well. Reeva was a very, very hard worker, very meticulous. Everything had to always be so and neat, tidy. She took her schoolwork very seriously. Her mom used to joke that in the mornings Reeva would get herself dressed and go and wait by the car and tap her feet, waiting for her mom to take her to school. She was a very hard worker. She got that from her parents. She definitely got that from them.
And she studied later.
And then after school, she went on to study at NMMU, and she studied law.
How did she manage to get enough funds to go study?
Through her good marks at school, she got a bursary.
She studied with a bursary.
She studied with a bursary.
And do you know if she finalized her studies, if she obtained a degree?
Yes, she did. She got a degree. She got an LLB.
Let us deal with the deceased and relationships with men. Do you know of any?
After school, because before that Auntie June was very strict and Reeva wasn't allowed boyfriends. And after school during her studies, she started in a relationship with one of Uncle Barry's jockeys. She got into a relationship with a gentleman called Wayne. And it was a very, very emotionally abusive relationship. It wasn't physically abusive, it was emotionally abusive.
And how did that work out?
I didn't know about it at the time because I was living in Cape Town and I'd had children and husband, and I kind of said we lost contact for a while. So at the time I didn't know how much it affected her. I heard via family members that Reeva was having trouble. But it was only once we reconnected later on in life, when Reeva was an adult and she was living in Joburg, she confided in me in what that relationship, what it was about and what it had done to her and how it affected her and to what extent it was, how abusive it actually was.
Now, she was still at school when she had an accident, or during her studies?
Yes, during her studies. She had a horse riding accident where she actually broke her back, and they put her in traction. I can't remember exactly how long. It was a couple of weeks, 6 weeks, months, I'm not sure, I can't remember. But it was very severe. They put in traction and they turned her daily. She had to lie flat, completely immobilized, tied to the bed, and they turned her around so she could face like that. It was a very, very intense procedure of recovery.
And that made her think and take stock of her life.
Yeah, that's one of the things Reeva said to me, that she was studying law because she wanted to work hard, and her dad had told her she must work hard in her life and get a law degree. And her whole life she'd worked hard, but that her life can end in a split second. And I think it was the time that she had to think, all those weeks and months. She said she made a conscious decision that she was going to get her degree, finish, but she was going to pursue the modelling career that she had. And there was a big consideration because it was finances, that she could make more money there, the opportunity to make more money there. and that life can be over so quickly. You know, you work so hard for something, but it might not be their path. So it was a big life-changing experience for her.
Making money for what?
To put her in a position to be able to look after her parents. She wanted to be able to do that. Reeva's very, very first paycheck she ever received through modelling when she was still a young teenager, she gave to her parents to pay for her schooling for the year. Reeva was just like that. She wanted to look after her parents.
Now, to pursue this career as a model, she moved to Johannesburg. Am I right?
That's correct.
Just
yes.
explain to the court what happened there.
It was I think one of two reasons. One reason was so that there were a couple of opportunities lined up for her career, and then one was to be able to break away from the abusive relationship, to get out of that situation. I remember she joked with me and said to me she's not even telling her dad where she stays because she just needs to break away completely. Well, she did tell him, but she needed to get away from PE. And the opportunities all fell in place at the same time.
And carry on. And she got opportunities since she started working. Where and what did she do?
The first job that I know of that she got, permanent position that she got in Johannesburg, was working at Fashion TV. It was like a position would have been hostess, public relations. I know she really enjoyed it. She loved it. She loved to be mixing with people, hosting. She was very good in front of the camera. I know she was very happy in that position.
Now, during that time, what kind of person was she? Was she a depressed person, happy person?
I'd say she was very happy then. You know, she was doing something completely different from what she'd done her whole life, work hard. She was now having a little bit of fun and earning money. Working hard at school, studying, and now she was still working hard, but having a bit of fun and earning money. Was earning a good salary.
There was this. She had a ritual during December and over Christmas. What was that?
Every year, December, from the time she left PE, except for one last one before she died, but every single year she went home to PE to her parents. She spent a month in Port Elizabeth with her parents. That was her ritual. She never ever missed. In 2012, she told me she'd never missed one year. She always went home to her parents in December.
Was family important to her?
Family was very, very important to Reeva. Family was everything. I would say compared to the normal person on the street, for Reeva, family was unbelievably important. She would instigate family gatherings. She'd make excuses to get everybody together. I remember when she came to stay with us for a little while, she would inquire, she'd ask me the whole time, she was very curious, why don't I go down to my mum for tea every afternoon? And I said, but I don't. She said, you live here, you know. She loved family gatherings. She loved braais and getting together and cooking in the kitchen, and she was very, very family orientated. One thing I need to just say is, as much as they battled financially, the amount of love that Reeva never ever wanted for love. That's where her love for family came from. And for as little money as they had double that in love, made up for it in love. And Reeva was a very loved person, and she loved spending time with family.
Now, dealing with that, so financially back at home, they were still struggling.
Yes.
And did Reeva contribute to her parents at all financially?
Yes, I know she helped them out from time to time. I know that, I think it was about 2011, 2012 when she was staying with me. I know personally of her paying for the medical aid. I think the medical aid had lapsed, and Reeva knew that it was important that the family needed medical aid, and she had it reinstated and carried on paying it.
That brings us to Cape Town, when she moved down to Cape Town. What was the circumstances there?
Reeva moved down to Cape Town. She came to live with us for about 6 months. It was an on and off over a period of about 6 months. How she landed up there was that her boyfriend at the time, Warren, was opening a branch of his business in Cape Town, which just happened to be very close to where we live. And the guest house where they were staying, the facilities weren't very nice, and she asked if she could come and use the shower, but we had arranged that she'd take that opportunity to meet up and get together, and we can go for dinner or whatever. And when she was there, we were talking, and she mentioned that there might be opportunity for a shoot with her agency in Cape Town. And I remember we basically begged her, myself and the kids, please come and stay down here. Please, you can stay with us. Because my children had bonded with her incredibly. My daughters absolutely adored her and just fell in love with her. And one night became 1 week, and she stayed with us for the whole week. And then she went back up to Joburg, spoke to Warren, found out everything was going to be okay, organised with him, organised with her modelling agency, and put her car on a train, and then came down to Cape Town and stayed with us. The first time was about 4 weeks, and then she would go home for a week, and then she'd come back again for 4 weeks. Her idea was, she wasn't happy in Johannesburg. She said it was very difficult in the modelling industry, a lot of falseness, cutthroat business, and she felt she needed to be with family. And at that time, she realized that her relationship with Warren was going to come to an end, and she was looking towards her future. And she said to me, she knows if she's in Cape Town, if she can make it in Cape Town with her career, then she's at least got family. She's got us with her.
I think we should perhaps just inform the court about the relationship with Warren. After Wayne, she went to Joburg, and there she entered into a relationship with a man called Warren.
Yes, yeah. I think about after a year or so of being in Joburg, when she moved up, she met a gentleman called Warren LaHood, who was a very nice guy. He treated Reeva very well. He was one of those real down-to-earth, salt of the earth, gentleman, soft, kind, loving. And Reeva loved him as well. My husband and I, we said, Reeva couldn't have found a nicer guy. Really, they had a very good relationship. I think the only reason the relationship came to an end was Reeva was moving into a new stage of her life. She was thinking about having children, and Warren was, I think he was about 2 years younger than her. He wasn't ready for that. His career was taking off, and he was a workaholic. He worked very, very hard, and he said he's not ready to have children. And Reeva knew that they loved each other, but they had become very good friends. And she was very honest with herself. She listened to herself, and when she realized that this relationship wasn't going to take her into the future with kids, that she couldn't see herself having children with Warren one day, she realized that she was going to have to end it. And that was her thinking in coming down to Cape Town. Hopefully her career could take off in Cape Town, and then she could be surrounded with family, because that ultimately is what she wanted. She said to me that it tore her apart that she couldn't be with her parents in PE, but she knew that the career wouldn't allow her no work in PE. She said she wished she could take her parents and move them to Cape Town or move them to Joburg, but she knew that wasn't possible. But she was consumed with the fact that she was not spending time with her family, and that she wasn't with her family.
Now, so she bonded with your children, she stayed with you. Was she worried about her parents at the time?
Yeah, she was very worried about her parents. And at the time, specifically at the time that she was staying with us, Uncle Barry was going through quite a hard time with work. Things hadn't worked out for him as he had planned. It was a very tough time in that industry. And it was just, he came across one hurdle after the other. And business-wise, he was in a very, very bad position, a difficult position. And she was very concerned about him. And then his health started taking a toll as well. He had sugar diabetes, and I know at that time, that was why I knew about the medical aid, that he had taken a turn for the worse. So she was extremely worried and concerned. She was consumed with earning money, looking after them, about her dad's health, about not living with family. It was a difficult time. She was very worried.
And the breakup with Warren, was that a traumatic time for her?
It was very traumatic. I remember her telling me, Kimmy, it's worse than a divorce, or it's equal to a divorce. And I know it affected her. I know how much she actually really loved Warren, but she knew that the relationship wasn't going to go any further. It was very, very traumatic. So Reeva is, like I said, because she's so family orientated, she was now losing another little part of family that she did have in Johannesburg.
And there's something about a cat.
Yes, Reeva loves animals. Absolutely mad about animals. And she had fed these stray cats that eventually became permanent residents in her house and were her children, her baby. She loved them. And when she was in the process of packing up and moving, the one cat ran away, and I remember she was devastated. She was heartbroken. And that happened first. And then her other cat, luckily, was still there. And then when moving it, she eventually moved in with the Myers, and the cat couldn't stay there for very long. And she phoned me crying over the phone. I remember I was busy camping. And she said, I don't know what to do. I feel so guilty. I can't put him down, but I've got nowhere to take him. My mom can't have any more animals. They've got too many. So I kind of joked and said, I'll take him. And she said, oh, thank you very much. And I couldn't say no. And within 6 hours, she'd flown him down to me. That's how important her cats were to her.
But the cats, something happened to the cat then?
Yes. Because she was in such a hurry to get the cat down to us, I was still camping at the time. And the company that handles transporting of animals brought the cat to the house. I unfortunately wasn't back from camping yet. And my 2 young daughters had to receive the cat, and they hadn't locked it away properly in the bedroom, and it got out. And I remember I was devastated. My husband and I shortened our camping trip. We packed up immediately. The girls were beside themselves crying. How are we going to tell Reeva the cat's gone? It's flown all the way. It's gone through all this traumatic experience, flying all the way down to Cape Town. And now it arrives here and it runs away. And we searched everywhere for it. And I just remember for 2 days, Reeva kept on saying, how's Milky? How's he doing? Send me pics. And I avoided her. And I was beside myself. I was so scared. I didn't know how I was going to tell her, because I know for her that is like losing a child. And I felt so responsible because she'd entrusted me with the responsibility. And eventually when I did tell her, I knew I just had to be brave and just eventually own up. And I just said to her, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to tell you this, that's why I've been avoiding you for 2 days. He ran away. And she said, don't worry, Kimmy, it's fine. I think I'm being punished for being selfish. Broke up with Warren. My one cat ran away. My life is just not in control, and I think I'm being punished for that. And that's how seriously that she took this, you know. And I remember telling her, don't worry, Reeva, it's got nothing to do with that. Everybody knows how much you love your animals, and you deserve to be happy. You know, you need to do what makes you happy in life. Luckily, we found the cat. It came back about a month and a half later. So I could go back to her and tell her that it had come back.
Now, at the time, Barry's horse business, he lost everything, am I right?
Basically, that closed down completely. Yeah.
And he got involved in some other business venture.
He started doing a wood chipping business, which where they supply wood shavings to the horse racing industry for the horses' bedding. He started doing that. It's very, very hard work, very physically hard work again. And the return is not very great. You're supplying wood chips. So it was very, very difficult. And I think at one stage, when Reeva was staying with us, the machine had actually broken down, and he had, at that stage, then no form of income.
And June, what did she do during that time?
June was working, she was running a little canteen at the race course. On race day, she would make toasted sandwiches. She had a little kitchen, like a little tiny mini restaurant that she ran. But it was only on race days. She would go and early in the morning, make little food, serve it, much like the restaurant upstairs, like that, for the jockeys at the racing stables, at the race course. But as I said, that was also only on race days, which is like twice a week, 3 times a week.
Before we carry on with other business ventures, although they went through financial hard times, they were always generous people, you told me.
Very generous. I think that is one of the main reasons why they always landed up in financial situations. Their home was always open to everybody. You can ask anybody from a young age. I remember anybody who was going through a hard time, needed a place to stay, landed up at Uncle Barry's house and Auntie June's house. Friends of the family whose son was wayward landed up there, staying there. He needed a place to stay. He ended up staying. Uncle Barry employed him. He gave him a job. He made a job for him. Jockeys were continuously living there. They never had an empty household. Their house was always full of people, always feeding them, looking after them. All the stray animals. Auntie June's forever picking up all the animals, looking. She can't say no. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they've landed up in the financial situations that they have. And that was why Reeva was the kind of person she was, why she was so caring and so giving and had such much empathy, because she got that from her parents. Then
June got involved in the barking spider. Just tell us about that.
That was a business opportunity that came about just before Reeva passed away. It's a small little restaurant, like it's in an industrial area in Port Elizabeth, close to the race course. It's very small, very humble, pretty run down, but there was opportunity to make a lunchtime trade for the industrial area, and they were very excited about it. You know, an opportunity to make a good enough living. And Auntie June went into it with 2 partners, 2 friends of hers at the time. And I remember they were very excited about this. And it was just the 3 of them. They would do all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the serving, working behind the bar.
3 ladies.
3 ladies. Auntie June and 2 of her friends at the time.
Still running.
It is still running.
Now, whilst we're dealing with the financial difficulties, now during that time, what mode of transport did they use? Cars, new cars, or what cars did they use?
No, I don't think they've ever owned a new car in their life. They drive around in very very broken down cars. Auntie June's car, I think you had to all climb in the front door. Only had 2 doors and the one door didn't work, so you all had to get in the one side. Something like that. Uncle Barry's always driven in bakkies. Their cars are they're not in good condition.
So the barking spider was just before the incident, and then it happened. It was the 14th of February 2013. How did you learn about this?
I was, my husband and myself were driving to work. We were caught it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, and we were caught in rush hour traffic. I was quite tired. I'd put my seat back and I was lying back. And I had my feet on the dash. And the radio DJ came on. And he said, breaking news, not confirmed. And he kept on saying that. He said it about 4 or 5 times. And I remember thinking, this must be big, and would he just hurry up and get on with it? And I still said to my husband, just spit it out. And then he said, Oscar Pistorius. And I remember the minute he said his name, I jumped up in the front seat. And I froze, and the next words were, allegedly shot his girlfriend. And I remember saying to my husband, I hope to God he is cheating on Reeva.
Please take a seat. Take a seat. We'll take an adjournment.
Can we? Thank you. Thank you, Melody.
Yes, do you think you're ready to proceed, Mrs. Martin?
Fine.
You
Yes,
should.
thank you, lady.
Yes. You feel more comfortable standing?
Can I sit, please?
Yes, yes. Please sit.
Can we just reorganize the microphones before we carry on?
You're still under oath?
Yes, my lady.
So, you heard the news, you said to your husband, you hoped that he had an affair and it's not Reeva. What happened there?
And I just remember my husband turning the car around in the traffic,
But did you know who it was, or you didn't know it?
No, I had no idea.
You had no
No, I was just praying that it wasn't Reeva. And they hadn't confirmed the name. They had said his girlfriend. And I remember immediately turn around, and he said, "Let's go to your mom." And I got on my phone, and I was trying to phone her, and I was phoning and phoning and phoning. She wasn't answering, and I started screaming. And my husband said, "Just calm down, calm down. We don't know anything yet." And I just wanted to get to my mother so I could know if everything was fine. I just wanted to hear that everything was fine. And we arrived at my mother's house, and I could see the minute we arrived, the doors open, my mother was hysterical. And then I knew, that's it, it's true. And I still remember hoping, and I went inside and I said to her, "Please just tell me, are you sure it's Reeva?" And she said, "Yes, I'm sorry it is." Because I spoke to Auntie June this morning. Spoke to Auntie June now. And that was for me the end of the world. Everything was just a blur from then onwards. Family were just running around. My husband raced to fetch my daughter in boarding school so she wouldn't hear it from somebody else. My son came home from work. My sister came home, and everybody was just like running around crazy and shouting and screaming. And my husband took control, and he booked tickets immediately. My mum and dad and my sister got on the first flight, and we decided to stay one day. I can't remember now why. There was a reason. And it was just the worst experience I've ever been through. I remember my parents left, and I felt like I wanted to be there with them. And they went out to Uncle Barry and Auntie June. And I was thinking in my mind the whole time, I'm dreading. I don't know how to face them. I don't know how to face Auntie June and Uncle Barry. I was thinking, how can I face them when they've been through this? You know, that this has happened to Reeva. How can I even look at them? And when we arrived in PE, it was just a madhouse. There was just people in and out, wishing and coming in with flowers, and it was like crazy. And Uncle Barry and Auntie June, they were like in a dwell. It was a horrible time. Everyone was fighting. My mum and my dad were arguing with each other. And we were all like, why? Why Reeva? I can't even remember the next couple of days. I just remember we had to arrange funeral, and everyone was thinking, how can you do that? You know, no one wanted to take responsibility for that. It was horrible.
Madam, can I just ask you to focus on June and Barry? When you got there, how did they react? What were they doing?
My aunt was hysterical. She had been looked after by someone, and they were helping her to cope with it. They had medicated her. She was very medicated. And she just walked around like shrugging her shoulders the whole time. My uncle sat in the corner, was crying.
So, before we carry on, this whole incident, so what impact did it have on the family? And we can see what impact it still has on you, but on the family, on Barry and June.
It's terrible. It's I'd say it's ruined our whole family. It's ruined Uncle Barry and Auntie June. Reeva was everything to them.
she was the only child in PE for a long time, and they absolutely adored her. They were so proud of her, what she had accomplished, and she looked after them so well, not just financially. That's why I was so worried about facing them, because I didn't know how they were going to cope. I didn't think they'd be able to cope with knowing that Reeva wasn't there.
Unfortunately, we have to go through detail, and let us just inform the court. In Cape Town, there were 3 children. It was Adam, Reeva, and Simone. When they moved to PE,
That's right.
what happened then? Who was in the house still?
Simone had got married by that time, had her own children, so she wasn't living there with them. And Adam, Reeva's older brother, had moved to England with his mom. So it was only Reeva in Port Elizabeth with her parents.
Yeah. This incident, did it affect the health of Barry and June?
Yes, I'd say so. Uncle Barry's health has suffered quite a bit. He wasn't very well to begin with, and he's had a couple of strokes because of it. Taking its toll. I mean, physically, it's very, very draining. This whole process of coming here, flying up, we're very worried physically about him being able to cope with it. Not only June, the signs of stress and trauma are obvious. They always try to be strong. Through this whole thing, they've tried to remain strong and have dignity. And I think they are very strong people, because to cope with what they have coped with.
You discussed the fact that you're giving evidence to them today with them.
Yes, I did.
What did they say? What was their attitude?
I spoke to my uncle and my aunt last night. I just wanted to make sure that they were okay. If they were going to be okay with me talking about them. And I was worried that I'd disappoint them. And they said to me, no. I have their blessing. And that I must be Reeva's voice. My uncle said he's very proud of me, and no matter what I do, I'll never make a mistake. And he said he would love to be able to stand here. He'd love to take the stand, but he can't. He said he would just lose it.
Now, and the impact on your family, you yourself, physically, and your health-wise.
Well, I've been for trauma counselling. I'm currently seeing a psychologist. I'm on medication for depression and anxiety. My children are in therapy. My daughter has even been, she was even in an institution for youth for coping mechanisms. To be able to cope, she was in there for 2 weeks. Her and Reeva were very close. And she couldn't cope with this.
my son's received counselling and my youngest daughter as well.
Now, it was never easy for you to be here today. Apart from the emotional stress, you also had other family commitments that you had to deal with. What was that?
My eldest daughter's in matric, and she's busy doing her final drama exam today, which I'm going to miss. I'm not there for her. This is a final matric drama exam.
You wanted to be here. You're shaking your head. You decided to be here.
I knew I had to be here.
Why?
I had to do this. I had to do this for Reeva. I owe it to her. And my daughter said she understands. Because I know Reeva needs a voice, and it's my way of being able to pay her back, you know, for what she went through.
She got involved in women's rights issues. Do you know about that?
I know how she personally felt about it because of her situation and her past. I knew how strongly she felt about women abuse and strengthening women's characters. She wanted to also work with empowering women. So once they're abused, work with that, but also to empower women. So she wanted it so that they could be avoided of being in abuse. I know of the project that she did, which was getting involved in. She was going to speak at the girls' school. That was supposed to be on the 14th of February. That was one of the things that I knew. And that was because her thing was that she wanted to stop girls from allowing themselves to be in those situations. And I know there were a few other things lined up, but I don't know of them offhand.
Let us just spend some time on her career, what she achieved that you can think of now.
One of her first achievements that I know of was the Face of Avon in Port Elizabeth. She won that contract. She was chosen as the Face of Avon to represent Avon. And she was in various catalogues, wedding catalogues and things like that in Port Elizabeth. And then when she moved to Johannesburg, she also numerous photographic work, catalogue work. She got into the FHM. She was chosen as an FHM model. And I know that Reeva was very happy about that. She worked really hard. There was lots of dedication, self-discipline to get into that. She was very proud of herself. And
She got into the cover of FHM.
she did, yes. I think she was on the November cover, December cover of FHM,
Okay.
or February, I'm not quite sure.
And just before death, there was also a TV program. Do you know about that?
Yes, my lady, that was the TV show Tropica. Few people auditioned for it and Reeva got it. It was the show where they had the elimination. I'm not quite sure of the full name, but it was televised. And she was very happy about that. She was extremely excited about that job.
Have you met the accused?
I have met him once, yes, my lady.
Where?
I met him in Cape Town. Him and Reeva met with myself and my daughter and her friend for breakfast one morning when they were down here. Reeva, it was the 2nd of January. And Reeva had contacted me and said, would I like to go for coffee the next morning? I thought she was joking because I knew she wasn't in Cape Town. And I said, yes, I'd love to. And she said, yes, because Oz is going to fly me down, take me on holiday for 2 days. And I'd like to meet up with you and go for some coffee.
Yeah. Just before we go on, we're talking about January 2013.
That's correct.
Now, that Christmas, where was she?
That was the first Christmas that Reeva never went back to PE. She couldn't make it for work purposes. And I remember she was very, very torn up about that. So she to make up for it, she flew down to PE just before that and took her parents away on I think it was a week, a couple of days, stay on a game farm. But it was the first Christmas in all of the years that she hadn't been living at home that she had not spent Christmas with her parents.
She also did not spend Christmas with the accused. And neither the 1st of January. Or don't you know?
No, she didn't. I know she didn't spend New Year's Eve with the accused, no.
What did she do on New Year's Eve, do you know?
I don't think she did anything. I think she stayed at home, if I remember correctly. She didn't really want to go out, so she ended up staying at home.
I think one thing we did not deal with is when she broke up a relationship with Warren, she had to move out of the apartment that they shared in Joburg. What happened then with her?
You're getting very soft.
Sorry, my lady.
Yes.
When she broke up the relationship with Warren LeHood,
Yes.
she had to move out of the apartment that they shared and she moved in with somebody else.
That's correct, my lady. She couldn't find a place to stay, a suitable place to stay that would take the cats. And she was very worried about it and crying to her friend, Gina Myers. And Gina's mom said to her, she could see how distraught she was, and she said, don't worry about it, Reeva, you can come stay with us, move in with us for a while until you can find yourself your own place. And that's why she was living with the Myers when she broke up with Warren.
Was she happy staying there with the Myers?
Yes, she was very happy staying there. She loved being with family, so for her, she had family around her. They used to have dinners together as a family, sit around the table, which is something apparently the Myers didn't do very often until Reeva got there. She would sit up at night time chatting to them in the bed for all hours, drinking tea. She was very happy there. I know towards the end she wanted to find her own place because she knew she needed to. She'd been there for a couple of months already, but she was very happy there.
Sorry, I interrupted you when we said, Reeva phoned you, said, would you want to meet her for coffee? I was just flying her down for a 2-day holiday. What happened then?
So then she said, Reeva phoned me and she said, can we please go? I've got enough time to have breakfast. We're going to be driving through to Hermanus, but we'll have enough time to stop for breakfast. Can we please meet up for breakfast down the beach where our grandfather's ashes were scattered? She specifically wanted to go there so she could go to that restaurant so that she could go to where our grandfather's ashes were scattered, which is on a small little beach in Bloberg. And we ended up she came to the house with Oscar, and we met there. She introduced us to Oscar, and from there we drove down in separate cars to the restaurant. I remember thinking when I first met him, I was obviously quite nervous and excited to meet this famous person. And I was so excited that I was going to get to see Reeva. And I remember we opened the gate and she ran in and we hugged and kissed and she introduced him to him. She said, "Kimmy, this is Oz, this is Kimmy," and we went inside. And immediately the girls were also excited, and myself, and Reeva went with me through to the bedroom, and she was commenting on my hair. I'd cut it, and so excited. And I still remember thinking, he's just standing there, you know. He came across quite shy, and I remember even still saying to Reeva, "Can't leave him there. We must go back." And then we spent about 2 minutes basically and drove from there in our own cars down to the restaurant. And it was the 2nd of January, so it was crazy down at Louwburg Beach. Thousands and thousands of people, tourists. The beaches were packed, the restaurants were packed. And eventually got a table, sat down, and Cape Town service is terrible. And I remember everything just went wrong with our order. It didn't arrive on time, sent the wrong thing, and I remember thinking that Oscar was getting a little bit agitated. Not overboard, but I could see there was like agitation, you know. And I thought he's obviously just not used to Cape Town service. Reeva and I were chatting, we were all chatting. He was chatting to the girls. He even gave my daughter advice about boarding school, what it's like to go to boarding school. I remember then thinking he was a very nice person. I didn't notice much affection though between the two of them. I remember there was a little bit of affection, but Reeva mainly sat with her arms like this. And his phone rang, and he got up and left the table to go and to answer the call. And when he walked away, I said to Reeva, "So, cuz, are you happy?" And she had a smile on her face, and she went and she pulled her shoulders up like this, and she said, "Yes, but we need to talk." And I remember thinking, okay. Then Oscar returned to the table, and we carried on talking, and I never got a chance to, I never thought to ask her. I thought about it, but I just never got a chance to say to her, "What do you mean by that?" And I must admit that has bothered me forever since then, that I never said to her, "What do you mean by what do we have to talk?" We have to talk.
But I see it's 22. 22.3. There's an aspect that I need to consult with that I haven't. That's important.
Is it the last aspect?
Say again?
Is it the last aspect?
It's a last aspect. But my request would be that we stand down. It's one aspect, it won't take long, that we pursue this matter, resume with this matter tomorrow. I'll deal with the one aspect, and we deal with cross-examination then. I would have, in any case, have asked the court that, seeing that this witness is so emotional, that I would not have wanted her to be cross-examined today. So, my lady, I ask that we stand down until tomorrow morning at 9:30.
Yes. You still think we'll make it this week?
Lady, I hope so.
Yes, Mr. Root.
And lady, of course, I can't stop it, but if it's not taking long, I can tell the court, I'm not going to cross-examine, I'm going to ask 2 short questions, and it's not cross-examination. So maybe if Mr. Nel could spend time with 20 minutes, and this witness would not have to come back to the stand tomorrow.
Lady, I would prefer to deal with this in my own time. It will need time. I repeat my request, my lady. Even if we finish this witness tomorrow in 2 minutes, that's fine. But I would need time this afternoon to consult with this witness about an aspect. I would not ask the court for time if I did not need it.
I will grant the indulgence, but let counsel just be reminded that I am available for only this week. I've got other duties next week and the week thereafter, and the week thereafter, and the week thereafter.
But I'm going to be very rude and say I couldn't hear a thing, my lady.
Pardon?
The court said the court's not available for the weeks after next week.
Well, that's what I need to tell you,
Yes.
because that is a fact.
I'm sure we'll be finished with evidence by tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Right. We'll commence tomorrow at 9:30.
Indeed.
in the morning.
Daniel, eine Zeuge, oder?